God's prophet Elijah had done everything that God commanded him to do. This is in 1 Kings 17, 18, 19 in the Old Testament of the Bible. Elijah had courageously confronted wicked King Ahab and godless Queen Jezebel and made them very, 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 very angry at him as the nation's top leaders. Elijah had also, in a very public way, testified to his faith in God in front of the enemy. And he was so passionate, and he prayed to God in this moment. He said, I believe in you, God, despite the circumstances around me. He was surrounded by his enemies, that God called down fire from heaven, and God sent fire. Elijah had battled to the death and won against 450 pagan sorcerers, the Bible calls the prophets of Baal. And the Bible says this is the last verse of 1 Kings chapter 18. The power of the Lord came on Elijah, and tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran. He ran because he was a wanted man. Wicked Queen Jezebel sent a message to him saying, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if you are not dead within 24 hours. And though God was on Elijah's side, circumstances seemed to suggest otherwise. He was angry at God. He felt very alone. And 1 Kings 19 continues, Elijah was afraid and ran for his life and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. Some scholars have called Elijah the prophet the suicide prophet, and for this reason. I did some research, and there's a very helpful organization called Christian Life Resources, and they have a list of warning signs that show us the behavior of anyone who might be thinking about ending their life. And it's a long list, it has about 12 things. Here are a few of them. And Elijah exhibited these. So these are the result, usually these warning signs are the result, the website says, of a painful event, loss, or change, and they include people talking about wanting to die or killing themselves, talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live, withdrawing or isolating themselves, or showing extreme mood swings. How can a prophet of God consider suicide? And along with that question, how can how can you be a Christian and consider or commit suicide? Hey, in my pastoring over 35 years and personal life experiences, I've encountered plenty of Christians who say, if you're a Christian, you will never, ever, ever be able to think about suicide, and they're wrong. Because Christians, even this prophet of God, can and do, because we are human. The Bible is very clear elsewhere. On the back of your message notes today, I have one section of the Bible, Romans chapter 7, that talks about even the Apostle Paul, even as a Christian, had sinful thoughts, wanting to hurt yourself, like taking a hammer to earbuds, right? Wanting to hurt something valuable that God has made and saved. Yes, it's a temptation. It's a thought of temptation that can end up in a sinful thought. Christians sin all the time, don't we? Selfish thoughts, neglect, lack of generosity, lack of love. Those don't rob us of our faith. They're unfaithful, but they don't rob us of our faith. So, there's clear teaching in the Bible that even Christians, even this prophet of God, consider suicide. Right here in the Bible, 1 Kings 19 never suggests that Elijah, though he had thoughts about ending his life and actually asked God to do it, nothing in here suggests that he wasn't a believer or a Christian anymore because of it. But we do want to be careful, because as Christians we can believe lies Those lies lead to despair. Despair can lead to clinical depression. Clinical depression can lead to suicidal thoughts, and that's what happened to Elijah. What's interesting in this Bible account is that the Bible really doesn't focus too much on Elijah, but it focuses way more on God's response. Okay, here's verse 5, God's response. All at once, an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." He, Elijah, looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and then lay down again. Okay, just take note of God's response to Elijah, immediate. So Elijah had suicidal thoughts. God responds immediately. He doesn't wait, at once. And then God sends an angel messenger, and that angel messenger touches Elijah, and I'm here, I'm really here. Not just voice, but touch. I'm here, I'm really here with you. Then gives clear instructions, clear commands. People who are in suicidal ideation need you to give clarity and direction to the scene for them. That's what the angel does. Get up and eat. And then the angel allows Elijah a little space, a little time to rest, to take it easy. I'll talk a little more later about what that looks like. But you see this in sequence as God's response to Elijah. This is not, right here, this verse is not a manual for how to help someone with suicidal thoughts, but it does give us some indications and actually has some good comparisons to a real list that exists. So this website that I was at, Christian Life Resources, they outline 5 action steps for us to take to help anyone with suicidal thoughts. They're very similar to what happened here. But I'm going to give you those 5 steps. They're very practical. You can take notes on the message notes. Here they are. 5 action steps outlined by Christian Life Resources to help prevent someone thinking about suicide from actually ending their life and taking their own life. Number 1, ask and inquire directly. Are you thinking about ending your life? Here's what this does. When you ask that question, very important question, you're telling them, I care. It avoids you sounding like you're scolding them or like you think they're naughty for thinking that way, and it opens up the conversation. But you have to ask very specifically, are you thinking about ending your life? You're not attacking them, you're not scolding them, you're asking a caring question. Number 2, be present. Okay, listen actively to understand their feelings. Maybe you're physically there. Maybe it's on phone, maybe FaceTime, whatever, but just be present. And then get a little deeper with your questions. You have their attention, they're speaking with you. Do you have a plan is your second question. So your first question is, are you thinking about ending your life? Second question is, do you have a plan? And that tells you a lot. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If they do, it's very serious. Very serious. So the next thing that you do is I would do this. I would say, I want to pray for you right now. What can I pray for? And be ready for them to say, pray that I die. Or for them to say, I have no idea. Be very confused and cloudy in the moment. And then a good prayer, don't use your prayer to scold. Don't use your prayer to judge or attack. And don't think that if you just say a prayer, you're going to fix them. But pray for them and with them as being part of the struggle. So if someone says to me, I've had people say to me, I want you to pray that I die. And I say, I have no idea what it's like to say that and feel like that, but I'm going to pray about that for you. I'm not going to pray that very thing, but I'm going to pray about that for you. And I just want you to know this, that the one that I'm praying to did have to face a choice about his own life ending by his choice. And his name is Jesus. He understands more than I do. And then I pray. And I pray, but dear God, this person is struggling so much. I care about them deeply, and their thoughts are attacking them right now. And Lord, it's just so hard for them. Please comfort them during this time. Jesus, I ask that you hear us. You in the Garden of Gethsemane faced the end of your own life, and it was your willing choice to sacrifice yourself on the cross. But Jesus, you ended your life so that none of us would have to on our own. All right, so you're praying, Jesus is in it, you're going deeper. Number 3, ensure safety. Okay, ensure safety. You want to keep a line of sight with that person, especially if they say they have a plan. Do not leave them. Do not, even if they say they don't have a plan, but it feels like they're very intense, don't leave them alone. Keep them within your sight. If they say they have a plan, then they're within your sight, and you removed any lethal objects or locations. Don't let them sit on a ledge. Don't stand near a highway. Don't let them be in the kitchen next to a knife drawer, okay? Think through this and just keep them in a safe place so they can't find anything or go anywhere in order to hurt themselves, but they stay focused on you and your presence with them. 4th, facilitate connections to get them help. Okay, so on the spot, in the moment, then you ask them, who are some people in your life that care about you? Maybe you know them. You know their family. You know friends. Get a hold of them and say, hey, I just want you to know I'm here with my friend, my family member. Right? Reach out and start making connections. It could be a professional counselor. Call their pastor. Call me. Okay, find connections. A great connection, I'm going to outline a little more later in detail, is 988, which is a Christian, a crisis and suicide hotline, 988. And you can just dial that, talk to anyone. You can go to the website, 988lifeline.org, and actually chat. So if the person doesn't want to talk, but is okay with online chat, you can chat online 24/7 with a representative at 988lifeline.org. Or if you are uncertain what to do, then they've said they've had thoughts, and especially if they have a plan and you're scared and you don't know what to do next, call 911. Don't ask their permission. Just do it. You won't regret it later. It's okay. You do it because you care. And the police officers, law enforcement officers I've worked with in those situations have been outstanding. They are trained and valiant and wise, and they know. They take over for me when they arrive, and I'm so glad that they're there. And so don't be afraid to call 911. It's an emergency situation. Okay, that's facilitating connections. And finally, follow up. Check back with them later. When everything is calm, when they're in a good place, and there's multiple scenes that could be, but just so you've left them now, they're safe. Check back in with them. Maybe it's an hour later. Maybe it's a few hours later. Maybe it's the next morning. Maybe it's all of those. But just let them know that you haven't left, you're there, and that follow-up is very important. God's angel does this for Elijah in verse 7. So it says, the angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. So he got up and ate and drank. This time it calls this messenger the angel of the Lord. There are some scholars who say that this angel of the Lord is Jesus. And that phrase, angel of the Lord, the Hebrew word angel, technically means messenger. And that phrase, angel of the Lord, does very certainly in other places in the Old Testament absolutely means that this is God more than an angel. And then we say it's a pre-incarnate Jesus. That is Jesus before he came to be born in Bethlehem, but Jesus existed from eternity, and now he's showing up and called the angel of the Lord. So some scholars would say this is Jesus himself. And see, this comes back. There's follow-up. A second time. Are there times in your Christian life where you haven't gotten something right the first time? Or like me, the 101st time? And you need another chance? Our God is the God of gracious, kind, second chances. He comes back to Elijah a second time. Get up and eat. The journey is, who is it too much for? Elijah. Who is it not too much for? God. Sure, Elijah, this is too much for you. Sure, friend, family member, you have thoughts of taking your own life. It's okay for this to be too much for you. You're not God, but it's not too much for him. All right? It's not too much for you. All right, so he got up and ate and drank. All right, so now what happens because he got up and he ate and drank and God is here blessing him? Next verse. Strengthened. Elijah was strengthened. How? Because God responded in that way. God didn't leave his side. God kept his promises true. Strengthened. And then he ran for 40 days and 40 nights. It's one of many places in the Bible that uses the number 40. Another place is in the New Testament. Jesus, after he was baptized, was in the wilderness for 40 days. You know, there's some great similarities between Elijah's story here and Jesus' own story. Because in that wilderness, Jesus was tempted and he struggled. Then later, the night before he died, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and that's where Jesus was facing the end of his own life. And the end of life for Jesus was a sacrificial offering that the Father asked him to make. It was his choice. He was choosing for his life to end. The very thing that those with suicidal thoughts are thinking as well. Jesus has been there. And God the Father sent angels to strengthen him. 40 days in the wilderness. We're in the season of Lent. You know how long the season of Lent is? How many days? 40. Why? Because ancient Christians believed it's a great time of the year, just before Easter, for us to endure the struggle, for us to admit that we can live in a wilderness, and for us to be strengthened, like Jesus himself was strengthened and like Elijah was strengthened by Jesus. Strengthened until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. Why didn't it just say Horeb? Mountain has a name, it's Horeb. Horeb, by the way, the mountain of God. This is the same mountain in Exodus chapter 3 where Moses received God's call from the burning bush. This is the same mountain, also known as Mount Sinai, where God gave his laws to his Israelites and the 10 Commandments were given to our world on Mount Horeb / Mount Sinai. This is a mountain where God says, I want a personal encounter with you, and when I do, I give you my covenant promises that as you believe in me and follow me, I got this. It was a different mountain later in the New Testament where Jesus climbed the mountain with Peter, James, and John, the Mount of Transfiguration. And you remember who Peter, James, and John saw on this mountain where Jesus went up there just before he was journeying to Jerusalem to go and die, suffer and die? Just before this, he went up this mountain, he was transfigured, light shined, and the voice came from the clouds, this is my son whom I love, I'm pleased with him. And Peter was there, and James was there, and John was there, and who else was there? Moses and Elijah. God said, Elijah, I have plans for you. And he did. He ended up standing on a mountaintop next to Jesus. So when you think that you're at a point of hopelessness, where it's time that you want to make it your choice instead of God's for your life to end, think twice. Because God has much greater plans for you than you at that moment would ever believe. And if you're with someone who is thinking about ending their life by their choice instead of God's, you just remind them of that. And then these 5 steps, I have 5 steps of Jesus, 5 action steps for Christians to take when Jesus is involved in that moment. Number 1, ask. Jesus asks, do you believe in me? Just answer the question. It's very simple, very clear, and Christians can, in that moment, despite all hopelessness, still believe in Jesus. That's where we start. Number 2, Jesus is present. He makes sure he's there in that moment. He came here and he was born in our world, present. We believe in and receive the real presence of his body and blood and Holy Communion. He's present. And we said before in this series that we have the mind of Christ. He's present in your thoughts. Thirdly, Jesus ensures safety. Nothing shall separate us from the love of God that is ours in Jesus Christ. Fourth, Jesus facilitates connections. These people that Elder Allen said, look around and look at these people. This is church. This is the best place for mental health help. There's other good places, professionals, I get it. But this is beyond what our world can offer. So Jesus facilitates connections. Finally, Jesus does follow up. I am with you always to the very end of the age. No matter what you're thinking, no matter how hopeless or how joyful, Jesus is with you. Trust him for his choice when your life ends. And that will be the perfect choice. Let him have that choice. We believe all these things and we practice them in Jesus' name. Amen.